Dear executive MBA colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly honored to be able to share some of my thoughts concerning the status of Finnish pulp and paper industry. I try to give also a look into the future, as is the topic of our seminar today, but as doing that also give some perspective what has happened. And as I'm doing that, I refer sometimes to the year 1970, and the reason is that that's the year I got involved with the industry as I started to study at the University of Technology in Helsinki. Let me answer to my own question in the headline right away, and then I try to explain. Will we live in or from forest? And my simple answer is both and. Yes, we will. However, not as much as it has been. And there are also reasons for that. It has been said that forests are the most valuable natural resource of Finland. Green gold, actually said. And there is a good reason for that. Finland is mostly forest land, as can be seen in the picture. 60%. And mind you, this 60%, this forest land, is not competing with agricultural land. And that's a big difference to many parts of the world. You know that there are wood plantations around the world, but they are challenged, and in the future more so, by the agriculture. That is not the case in Finland. Also, I would like to point out that forest management, there is a good reason to say that the forest management in Finland is top class. Over 90% of the Finnish forest land is certificated, which in a way guarantees that good quality management will continue. Some 14% of the forest land is strictly protected. Additional 4% only limited use for industrial wood. And this means obviously, and I'm sure that's important for all of us, that forests are not only seen as raw material to the industry, but there are other values, like recreational, leisure time values, whether it would be then picking berries, or mushrooms, or hunting, or just wandering around. I think that is very, very important in the Finnish culture. Now the top quality forest management has also meant that the growth in Finnish forests has been tremendous in the recent decades. Today it's about 100 million cubic meters annually, whereas the harvesting is around 60 million. So there is a clear surplus. In fact, the forest assets, the volume of wood in Finnish forests is bigger than ever in the recorded history. 100 years ago, the wood volume was about 1.5 billion cubic meters. Today it's 50% more, at the level of 2.3 billion cubic meters. There are other success stories behind the development. I was referring to the year 1970, and I must say, as I studied at the time, I was wondering, did I make the right choice? The reputation of the industry in terms of environmental issues was lousy. It was really bad. And it was even so, as I started to work as a young engineer, Juha was referring to Varkaus mills at the time. Downstream people were complaining that fishes fish is dying, the water is polluted. And as you can see here, what has happened during 70s, 80s, early 90s, practically what comes to wastewater load, it has been eliminated. And this is a success story which should be also understood as a sign of knowledge and understanding of the processes in clean tech. Behind all this is obviously tremendous work. And I must say that also from my personal point of view, it was very inspiring times. The same applies to energy generation. We should remember that 70% of the bioenergy generated in Finland is done by forest industry. 70%. And I could show similar type of curves what comes to the air pollution, be it the sulfur dioxide or dust or other things. Also that should be turned and is the basis for clean technologies, which is, as many believe, very much the future. Now, looking at the very, I would say, crucial issues in terms of Finnish economy today, being that Finland has a major problem what comes to the trade balance. And it has been said, and rightly so, that the paper industry, pulp and paper industry, has contributed to this problem. And the reason can be seen here. Up until around year 2000, there was a steady growth what comes to exports of the forest industry. And since then it has peaked and there has been a decline. This is not a collapse, but there is a slight decline. And now the issue obviously going forward is how can we create more exports to put our trade balance in order. Still what comes to the numbers here, forest industry makes about 20% of the export in Finland. And if we take the whole cluster, that is the forest industry, plus the machine and equipment, automation, process supplies, what comes to export net income, it equals to 30%, still today. Not as it used to be, if I go back again to year 70, it was more than 50%. But it's still vital to Finland, I believe. Now here we have the whole business globally, the fiber-based business globally, and how does the market look like, the market growth. You can see on the y-axis the percentages, and then on the x-axis percentage-wise the consumption of different fiber-based products. Totally, the business here we are talking about 400 million tons, or around 300 billion euros. On the left-hand side, you can see papers. And for the reasons which you all know have already been discussed here, they are in decline, even globally, especially if we talk about newsprint and magazine, but also office papers, as you see here, uncoated wood-free or coated wood-free papers. And it's more so what comes to Europe or Western world, where the last, say, 6, 7, 8 years, the minus has been around 5%. And that has meant that several paper machines, several millions of tons, in fact, has been closed down of paper capacity in Finland. So that is to continue. And the reason is obvious. Advertising is going to internet. Reading is going to internet, more and more. But that's not the whole truth, as can be seen here. That's only about, say, 1/3 if we talk about the businesses based on fiber or wood fiber. The biggest part here you can see tissue, but the real big part is packaging. Different kind of packaging. As you can see, containerboard, that could be called also transportation packaging. Or then carton boards, which is a consumer packaging. And that is growing. And funny enough, for the very same reason, namely internet. That's the internet sales. The logistics same as going to internet. Internet purchasing means more and more packaging. High quality packaging is needed to supply the goods to ultimate customers. There are other factors also which support very much fiber-based packaging. And that is that the main raw materials for packages are fiber or plastics. You have glass and metal, but those are minor compared to the big ones, fiber and plastic. Plastic is facing major environmental headwinds. The reasons you certainly know. It's not biodegradable. It is estimated that some 10% of the plastic globally ends up into the sea. It's not biodegradable, it's ultimately causing huge environmental issues. And one of them being that it ends up in the food chain. So that is supporting fiber-based packaging, and there definitely is a good chance to develop further business on fiber-based packaging. Now, you might have heard, you certainly have heard, the Earth Overshoot Day, which this year was August 19, which was about 1 month ago. Now we are on the deficit. One globe is not enough for us. We would need 1.5 globes to supply all the raw material we need. 1.5. Again, back to 70s, it was certainly still enough, but not today. I'm sorry that actually we can't see the whole Kiva.
It's so long ago.
Yeah. But anyways, I don't think that there is a question where to go. And that's the lower curve. And that means a challenge and an opportunity. It has already been seen that the scarcity of raw materials, we are facing the scarcity of raw materials going forward. We are able to use less and less raw materials, and definitely less and less fossil raw materials. And that is turning to higher prices ultimately in raw materials. Like said, this can be seen also as an opportunity, namely in terms of talking about good raw material, that is the raw material which is renewable, which is sustainable, recyclable. So it's actually fulfilling all the needs, the big needs which we are facing. So it is there. What is needed? No question there is a huge demand for all kind of research, starting from basic research, applied research, innovations, new technologies. And then we are ending up with a new product, which there's a list just to give an example where the work is today going forward in a big way. Energy and biofuels, packaging like discussed, combination of wood, other raw materials, intelligent wood structure. By the way, I did not have time to discuss too much about the mechanical wood side, neither am I the best expert to do that. But that's a huge opportunity as well. In terms of climate change, wood is the raw material which can serve as a carbon sink instead of producing carbon dioxide, which is the case if we talk about whether it's concrete or steel, the competing materials. So huge opportunities. also in mechanical wood. There are medicines, healthcare products, biochemicals, and so on and so forth. But in many of these, definitely one has to say that they are on the basic research base. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind that in fact, talking about forest industry, one should always talk about the forest cluster. This is the platform we are talking about. And I would argue that in Finland we have the best cluster, forest cluster in the world. And we also appreciate that. And I would also hope and expect that the decision makers, even the political decision makers, would understand the importance to make sure that this platform is taken care of in terms of competitive environment. This platform is not burning. It's facing rough waters and tough times, but it's an excellent platform still. With that, thank you.